Hey guys, this is Hugh again. Just wanted to give you some 5 tips about coming to Shanghai, the do's and do nots. Well, as you know, coming to China is a little bit different than going into any other city, for example, Hong Kong or Europe, whether it be Paris, London, or even the States, other big cities, New York and LA. The cities here is very different, and one of the biggest challenges is the language. And because there is big cultural differences as well, there are some customs that we may do back at home that I recommend you do not do here. But let's talk about the things you do. Is the first thing, when you come into Shanghai, you want to talk about the time of the year you're coming. Because there are 4 seasons here, you would not want to get hit by the weather that you may not have properly prepared for. So if it's the months between November to, I would say, April, it will get cold. In terms of Fahrenheit, it can get down to perhaps as low as 15 degrees, and Celsius can be down to -15, depending on if it's a daytime and a nighttime. And if you're coming during after the months of May all the way to October, perhaps it can get really hot sometimes. Specifically in August and sometimes July and sometimes September. So you want to bring the sunscreen, you want to bring enough water, or buy a lot of water here. You want to travel light, bring some shorts, some t-shirts. If you do perspire, bring some deodorant, and be prepared for the weather. That's my #1 thing. So I'd recommend you go to weather.com, www.weather.com, and check out what time of the year and what range of season we may end up running into. Another thing you want to do is travel light. Shanghai has a lot of things you can buy, so perhaps 90% of the time you'll find what you need if you just look hard enough. But if there are specific things that are custom to you should bring it, but most of the time you can basically buy it here. For women, I would definitely recommend you bring your own toilet tissue. If you do go to certain places, they may or may not have toilet tissues depending on how much you spend on the location you go to. For example, if you're spending on a meal that's, say, $15, you can expect $15 or more, you can expect some toilet tissues. But if you go anywhere more of the cheaper places, or even eating street foods, don't expect to see toilet tissues there all the time. And bring some soap, a little hand sanitizer. I think it's well needed here. They don't have a huge hygiene amount of expectations, so bringing some hand sanitizer will definitely help, and you can buy some here at the local store as well. Another thing I would do is bring your medication or vitamins. If you have a specific amount of medication you must take, don't forget to bring it, and bring it extra. You just never know. And sometimes in the foods, it might be some food allergies that you may have that most of the people here don't understand food allergies as they do back in the United States. So I've run into an encounter where I'm allergic to nuts, so they had used peanut oil inside of the foods, and it's not on the menu, and most of the time the waitress or the waiter may not be familiar with how the chef cooks the food. So I definitely recommend you bring something that will help safeguard your health, and even some vitamins. The protein and the nutritional facts are different because the portions are smaller here. So if you find yourself a little tired, or perhaps maybe you're cooking with the right vitamins would help, because the protein diets are a lot different than they are in the States. Another thing I would do is bring a dictionary. It's good to have a Chinese Mandarin dictionary with simplified characters, and there's 2 different types. There's the traditional, which is used in Hong Kong and Taiwan and other places around the world, and there's simplified, which is a more simplified, how would you say, it's the strokes that they use for the Chinese characters is less strokes, and you want to find a dictionary that is adjustable for that. And then you can even find some phrase words, that something that say, where's the bathroom, 洗手间在哪儿? So you can write this down, or even draw down the characters, or even print it out and then tape it in a small book, so you have a guidebook, so you can recommend to anyone that you may be looking for help or you might be saying, where's the bank, where's the bathroom, where's the hotel, and it's maybe even a specific address that you might have to write down when you do arrive. And finally, I would bring some cash. I wouldn't bring a whole lot of cash, and there are ATM machines that are here, HSBC, and there are some affiliated Chinese banks that are affiliated with American and European banks. However, cash is still king here. So expect to get most of the finer things you want to shop for your friends in cash, and that's the way most of it's done business here. Now, what I don't, on the don't side, what I don't recommend is that there are the taxi cabs. There are two different types of taxi cabs. One, there is a meter running, and one there isn't. And you might have someone walk up to you and say, do you need a cab? And most of the time, the people that walk up to you to ask them for if you need a cab would be the people that what they call a HEI, which means a black cab, which also stands for illegal cabs, and they quote a price that they know you do not know, that might even be 3 times the cost that it originally cost, especially if you cannot find a regular cab. So depending on your location and the time of the day, these black cabs do pop up and they do ask for your business. And it is a risk. If you do get caught by the cops, that is a risk to you and you might be deported. Some people do it, but I depend on discretion. But if it all comes to be safe, it's best to use a cab that has the meter, and then you can ask for a receipt, which is called fa piao. And therefore, if something ever goes wrong, if you lose your phone or your wallet, you have the driver's number and the license plate, and you can go back and report the actual information to the police station where you have the receipt. So it's always good to have the receipt. Second thing is when you're going out partying, do not go to the bars where the women approach you. I know guys are like, wow, finally we have people that want to approach us, but what they are hired to do, like most places in the Asian country, is for you to spend your money. And sometimes the prices are inflated, especially when you're intoxicated. So it's good to go to some bars, and some bars, they say they have served fake alcohol, which is either watered down alcohol or maybe a different type of synthetic type of alcohol. So you want to be mindful of these places. I like to get to a place where there's more of a foreigner presence, less Chinese, or a good blend, and that way is a sense of trusting to know if you can drink the type of thing, because you have to be careful when you're in a different country. Another thing you don't want to do is bring in American dollars. It does not have any value here. You can exchange it at the exchange offices or even a bank. As long as you bring your passport, they will exchange American dollars in case you do happen to run and get some American dollars. But what is used here is the renminbi, which is a red bill, and I will show you 100. This is the largest bill they have. If you take a look, and this bill probably won't get you that far. You need a lot of it. So maybe I can spend about 60-70 of this money, and it will just be equivalent to close to maybe $10 to $12. So if you're a big eater like myself, you might need a bunch of these to go around. So that's why cash is king. But I don't recommend that you bring American dollar because it doesn't have any value here. Also, finally, you don't want to bring any street. I'm not a big fan of street foods. If you do not have a strong stomach, or if you had some problem in the past, maybe an ulcer or some upset stomach, I do not recommend you actually eat street food. It is extremely cheap and is very popular amongst the Chinese locals, and sometimes some foreigners do eat it. The risk goes behind where you have reused oil. It's not as clean as it should be. You don't know where the food's coming from, and it's on the street, so it's subject to pollution in the air. They don't necessarily wash it as thoroughly as you would see in a restaurant. So you're taking your own risk. A couple of my friends have gotten food poisoning, but not everybody. But it depends on the person and where you're getting it from and what time of the day, and obviously what batch of foods you're eating. They have vegetables, tofu, meat, and we really don't know where this food is coming from. So if you like to try street foods, I don't recommend it, but I've had it in the past, and it doesn't have any nutritional value. It's just maybe if you're hungry in the middle of the night, they're available just like McDonald's. And yes, we do have McDonald's and KFC here, which is also not as healthy. And finally, when you're doing your research here, you want to research as much as you can, but most of the information that is about China and Shanghai abroad, back in the States and Europe, is not necessarily true. Times change here, and there are a lot of different things, especially in Shanghai, because it's a big developing city that a lot of people do not expect the amount of advancement in this city as the media would like to share. So when you come to the city, don't forget you need a couple of requirements. You need a visa, which is about $140 US if you're an American citizen. And once you get your visa, you have to buy a round-trip ticket, and they are offering visa up to 10 years, so you can apply for maybe a one-time or double entry or multiple entries depending on your invitation. You need an invitation, and if you don't have an invitation given by either a Chinese company or a friend, you can go to an agency, and they will issue out an invitation for you for a fee. So depending on where you go, you want to check with the right agency, so hopefully they can give you a good price. And finally, you need your hotel reservation. So your hotel reservation, your plane ticket, a round-trip ticket, and your visa, all of these things are needed to come to China. And once you come, you have a great experience. I recommend Shanghai first. Get yourself situated, meet some people, and it can tell you a little bit more about the lifestyle here. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. If you have any questions, please write down in the comments below, or you can email me at hujohn followed by 2 zeros @gmail.com. Hope to talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks for watching.